Just think about the phone in your pocket, or maybe the shoes on your feet. Chances are they were made with parts and labor from a dozen different countries. So, how does one company make sure that what's considered doing the right thing in, say, Germany, isn't a massive ethical disaster in Vietnam? Well, that is the incredibly complex puzzle we're going to unpack today.
I mean, it's a huge question, right? For any company that operates globally, something that's perfectly legal in one country could be a major violation in another. And what's considered a respectful business practice in Japan could be a huge misstep in Brazil. This clash between the written laws and all those unwritten cultural norms, that's really the core ethical challenge for any business that decides to cross a border.
So let's dive right into that challenge. We all have this idea of business as usual, but here's the thing. When your company's operations span the entire globe, there's just no single definition of what usual even means anymore.
And it really is a maze. I mean, every new country you enter introduces a whole new set of rules. We're not just talking about labor laws and environmental regulations, but also all those unwritten social customs and really deep-seated ethical expectations. For a multinational company, this isn't some one-time problem they solve. It's a constant, massive hurdle they have to navigate every single day.
Okay, so this whole challenge really boils down to two different fronts. On one hand, you've got the legal standards, the black and white laws you absolutely have to follow. But then you have the cultural norms, those kind of unwritten rules about what's respectful or what's right. A global company has to master both of these to even have a chance of succeeding ethically. It's a tough balancing act.
All right, so if every country is playing by a different rule book, how on earth can any company create a single, consistent code of conduct? Well, the answer lies in this idea called ethical globalization. You can think of it like creating a universal moral compass that just works, no matter where you are on the map. The core idea here is a really fundamental shift in thinking. Instead of trying to adapt to whatever the lowest possible standard is in every country, just doing the bare minimum, a company commits to a single, much higher set of universal principles. We're talking about things like basic human rights, fair labor, environmental stewardship. These principles become the company's non-negotiable North Star, and they're applied everywhere, without exception. And these are the pillars that hold that whole philosophy up. This isn't just about writing a nice memo. It's about real action. It means actively making sure workers are treated fairly, not just where the laws are strict, but everywhere. It means taking environmental responsibilities seriously. And maybe most importantly, it means being radically transparent about how you operate so the world can actually hold you accountable. But let's get real. What does putting these pillars into practice actually look like, especially when things have already gone wrong? To see that in action, let's look at one of the most famous turnarounds in corporate history, Nike. Their story is a pretty powerful case study in learning these lessons the hard way. If you go back to the 90s, Nike was basically the poster child for exploitative labor practices. They faced an absolute firestorm of public criticism, but their response is what's so fascinating. They didn't just put out a press release and hope it would all go away. No, they established strict global labor standards for all their factories. And this is the critical part. They brought in independent auditors to actually enforce them. That journey, from corporate villain to role model, is what we're looking at. And this is the part that you really have to get about their transformation. It wasn't just a PR campaign. It was a deep, systemic overhaul of their entire business. They didn't just change their image. They rebuilt their whole supply chain with accountability baked right into its core. That right there was the absolute game changer. So, Nike's journey didn't just save their brand. It actually created a blueprint for accountability that pretty much any global company can follow. It shows a really clear path from being in a crisis to becoming a leader. You can see a super clear cause and effect here, right? The problems on the left, like exploitation and zero oversight, they aren't just bad for people. They create real business crises, like a totally shattered reputation. But the solutions on the right directly tackle them. Fair labor standards replace exploitation. Independent auditing creates real oversight. And the outcome isn't just a fixed problem, it's a stronger, more resilient company. Companies that act responsibly abroad enhance their reputation and contribute to global development goals. This quote really nails the dual benefit. It's a true win-win. You're not just avoiding scandals, you're building a brand that people trust, a more resilient brand, while also becoming a positive force in the communities where you actually do business. And ultimately, when you zoom out, the lessons from Nike's story scale up, way up. This isn't just about sneakers, not at all. These principles of ethical globalization,
They provide a real pathway for creating more responsible and sustainable supply chains for every single industry across the entire global economy.
So, all of this leaves us with a final and pretty important question. Since we know that public pressure is often what drives these huge changes, what's our role in all this? How can our choices as consumers and our voices as citizens push all companies toward this higher standard of accountability? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.